she really say that? Real talk with female entrepreneurs and a few good men that will shock and surprise you. Hi, my name is Heidi Mima.
And I'm Chef Katrina, and we co-host this amazing podcast where we are interviewing women and, like you said, a few men around the world of entrepreneurship, but mainly women, because women really have something to say, and I think it needs to finally be heard, especially when it comes to the world of business. So thanks for tuning in and listening in to our podcast.
Did she really say that?
Well, welcome to Did She Really Say That? I am Chef Katrina, joined by my co-host
Heidi Mima.
And today we have an amazing woman that we're interviewing. We have Nisha Goyal. She is a self-love coach who loves helping women learn how to date themselves and cultivate unapologetic self-love so they can have better health, better relationships, and the most important piece, more money, ladies. Through her own journey out of burnout, she has found her passion in helping high-achieving women optimize their physical, mental, and emotional health. It all started from within. She lives in the city of Toronto with her fur baby, Sony. Sony? Yes. Yes. And enjoys personal development, nature, and getting out of her comfort zone. That is for sure. So, Nisha, thank you so much for being here and joining us here on today's episode of Did She Really Say That?
Well, thank you so much. I love that intro. I'm super excited to be here. I'm stoked.
Yeah, well, we're going to be talking a lot about self-love, and I find this to be a fascinating conversation, especially for women in business. And when you're talking about high-achieving women, like women that are making the 5, the 6, the 7 figures, and now we're having this conversation around self-love, because for me, I know that oftentimes as we get into the world of entrepreneurship, business ownership, business development, the one thing we often forget about is ourselves.
Yes.
So let's dive into this. What is self-love? I think that's one of the questions our audience is always asking. It's like, what does that actually mean?
It's a radical act of self-honoring, I think, and it's saying, I deserve pleasure, I deserve presence, and I deserve my own attention. It's look at it as, what would I give to my partner? Because we're really good at all of that. What do I give to other people? How can I give that same thing to myself and take care of my own needs, my own well-being? And the most important thing is loving ourselves regardless of what other people think of us. Take away the external achievements, take away the money, take away the applause, and take away the you did a great job. And thanks for that. It's knowing that I'm enough without all of that. That's the hard part.
Is it getting back to, I guess, what I've heard another woman talk about is getting back to divine self, like stripping away all the different elements, like not the mom, not the sister, not the aunt, not the wife, not the partner, but really getting down to divine self. Would that be kind of where you're saying that self-love really resonates from?
Yeah, it's self-devotion. And I talk about dating yourself because we put so much emphasis on dating other people, right? Whether you're dating somebody for the purposes of friendship, getting to know somebody, whether you're dating a partner for the purposes of romance, you go on a date with somebody and you get to know them, right? You would never enter a relationship of any kind or a friendship with somebody unless you dated them in some form. And that involves getting to know that person. And that's a conversation. It's getting to know their likes and dislikes, spending time with them. But why don't we do the same thing with the same intention with ourselves? I don't feel like we put importance on it. We don't think about it. And so that's why I think it's really important to cultivate relationship with self, because you can get rid of somebody. You can get a divorce, you can break up, you can be like, I don't want to be in that friendship. But wherever you go, there you are, ladies, right? So when you look in the mirror and you're like, I hate myself and I'm having a really bad day, newsflash, you're not going anywhere. So how are you going to handle that? And that's what I think self-love is about, is it's about devotion to ourselves. When it's great, but how are you with yourself when it's not great? When you get into a fight with yourself, when you're hating on yourself, when you're, quote unquote breaking up with yourself, because you got to get back together at some point with you. Otherwise, what kind of life are you going to live?
I always think of that, made me think of that when we tell children when we're younger, and it's like, and you heard it all the time about treat other people like you want to be treated. And it's like we got so much into treating like how focused on how we treat other people, like we totally neglect how we even treat ourselves. Because it's like it's like the things that I was like, I wouldn't treat other people sometimes as I've treated myself. And it's just like, and so it's just, I was just thinking about that when you were saying
Yeah.
that.
It's so true, and we all know this, right? You wouldn't, the way you talk to yourself and the limiting beliefs and the stories that you tell yourself, you would never say that to your children or your partner or your friends or other people. But we're our own worst critics. And to me, self-love is about honoring yourself even when you're being your own worst critic. Because it's never going to be perfect every day. We know that. But it's how do you take care of your own well-being when you're not at your best? Obviously, we want bubble baths and we want to honor ourselves when things are great, celebrate our wins, but you know, who are you without all the applause?
I love that. I do
And
have a
do I
question.
love that person without the applause, without the people pleasing, without the, oh, you're a great daughter, or you're a great sister, or you're a great, coworker, or whatever it is, wife. Without all of that stuff, when you're alone with yourself and there's nobody else there, what are you saying to yourself, and who are you? And do you like that person? Do you love that person?
Think that's such a great perspective because like I'm hearing in the back of my mind too, it's like, oftentimes we do look for the applause. We want that recognition, that acceptance, like, oh, you did a great job cleaning the house. Oh, you got your hair cut. Oh, you did this. Oh, you did that. So we're looking for those signs of like that we've done something, like that we're not invisible, I think is the word that often comes up with women, is feeling invisible. So we seek attention elsewhere. And I wonder, as I'm talking to you and I'm getting full body chills around this, if that invisibility is self-inflicted. Are we invisible because we, as the conversations we're having with ourselves, and I'm having, if I find myself invisible, is it the conversations I'm having with myself? Am I belittling myself? Am I taking myself down? Am I saying I'm not worthy enough so that I have to seek external validation because I don't see the validation within myself? So I think that goes back to what you're talking about. It's like, dating yourself, getting to know yourself again.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely what happens is we do it to ourselves, we make ourselves invisible. But I also think it's all the other things like societal conditioning
Mm.
and our own experiences. I mean, as women, we're the gender that gives. We're taught that our worth lies in what we do for other people. All the roles, and I'm not saying those things are important. I'm not saying that we don't deserve to feel appreciated and desired, and that we don't deserve the applause.
Right.
But when you're doing everything for that, and something inside you, there's a nudge inside you that says, that's not feeling so good. Like, if it feels good, then, well, there's no point in having a conversation because it feels great, right? If you're good, you're happy, right? But a lot of what happens, I burnt out personally and professionally because I was doing that very thing. It was all about what I did for other people. I wasn't setting boundaries. I didn't know how to say no. I was the nice girl, be a good Indian girl, do what, nice girls don't do this and nice girls don't do that. So I made myself small because of the experiences and the programming and the societal conditioning. And I still work on it,
Yeah.
right? What I've recently been healing is I still have stories. So I think we do make ourselves invisible, but that invisibility over time, it's like an armor in my experience, that you put on the armor and you walk through life with it. And at some point, for most women, high achieving women, I find in my own experience, the armor starts to get too heavy
Agree.
and it breaks.
Yep.
And then you're like, wait a minute, how'd this happen? How'd
You
I
feel
get
shattered. You feel shattered and on the ground because that was the experience that I had. It's like I felt shattered. It was like I felt like everything I had all of a sudden just like it shattered. And then I was like, who the heck is this person standing here? Kind of a thing. That's literally that moment that I felt like everything needed to shifted. Yeah, needed to shift because I was like, I don't recognize me. I've been putting on this shield of everything to everybody. I just don't even recognize myself. Mm.
And that's what happened. Same thing happened to me. And I exploded
Mm.
with people in my life because I didn't say anything,
Yeah.
right? Because I just internally I was struggling, but I'm like, no, we just keep doing it. And I gave and I gave and I gave and I gave to you and I gave to you and I gave to you. And then I started to feel like internally, the heart's not balanced unless it's equally giving and receiving. I was all
Yeah.
about the giving, but I didn't know how to receive. And so that's why I'm so passionate about dating yourself because every day of your life, you have to be with yourself. And I read recently this really scary statistic that someone in my network shared that 80% of women will be single or by themselves at some point later in life. So this isn't an age thing, but it just got me thinking again. So if and when that happens, and even if it doesn't happen, right? How are you carving out sacred solo time? How are you nourishing the relationship that you have with yourself? Or is it all about can only do these things in conjunction with another person?
Yeah.
How are you quieting the noise within you and having a daily, consistent conversation with yourself about how you're feeling, what you like, what you don't like, what you need, what's working, what's not working?
So that brings up the question for me, because you talk about dating yourself. What the flock does that look like? I'm just going to be straight up honest. Like,
Yeah.
you talk about dating yourself, and I'm like, okay, so high achieving women were dating myself, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, what does date myself look like?
Yeah.
Like, do I need to have a yoni massage? Because I'm going to throw that in here because I'm just going to bring it up in this conversation. Do I like what does date yourself really mean? Like, let's throw this out there.
It can look like many things, right? And
Okay.
I'll give you examples. So, when you're take yourself to, a normal date, right? You're going on a date with somebody. Let's take that. What do you do on a date? You go somewhere with somebody, a partner, and you have an experience and you have a conversation. Well, who says that you can't do that by yourself?
Mm.
There are things like I say, go take yourself out for dinner. Nobody's available. That's okay. Go sit in a cafe by yourself. Go for a walk by yourself. Like be with yourself. Maybe your partner loves seafood and you hate it. So go to a restaurant where there's no seafood, right? Like be the person that can live her life with herself. I'm not saying you don't need people,
Mm.
but take yourself out to do things. There's the ones we talk about, right? Buy yourself flowers, take yourself to the spa. I love all of those things. But then there's things like, spending time alone. And what that does is it deepens your self-trust and it deepens that inner knowing. And if it's uncomfortable, it gets you comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Mm.
So shoo your family out if you need to. Spend time with yourself with nobody there and pamper yourself. Take out a journal. I'm a big fan of journaling. So it's having a conversation. When you go on a date, you don't just sit across from somebody and not talk, right?
Right.
You have a conversation. So I'm not saying stand on a corner and go talk to yourself because people are gonna think you're weird, but how are you going to have that conversation with yourself? Because that's a part of it. It could be as simple as you have a morning practice where you pull out a journal and you ask yourself, like, how am I feeling today? That's what I do every day. How am I feeling right now? Did I sleep great? What happened to me yesterday? Did I like it? Did I
Mm.
see the person? Am I energized? Like whatever's in my head. And so as I have that daily conversation with myself, I get to know myself, right? Oh, every time I hang out with Jenny, I feel really drained. What's up with that? Like you start to see patterns and things in your own experience. And that's part of the dating. So there's a part of it that's okay, yeah, go out there. I say go out there and live your life. Do things instead of relying just on someone else to constantly be there. And then there's another part of like reflection and deepening that trust of just getting to know who you are and sitting with yourself even when it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That is so important. I think it's like, especially it's like, I think it's like a lot of the people, women we work with, it's like, and even I'll take myself, for example, it's like, I raised 3 kids. I homeschooled them. I was literally with my kids 24/7. And there was a point where it was just like, you do lose who you are. Everything everything is on you, and it's just like, and like you talk about burnout, it's like there was this whole school burnout too, because it's like not only are you schooling your kids, you're raising them and still taking care of the household and everything. And I know for myself also, being an entrepreneur has always been like the center of my heart, and it was kind of goes along with homeschooling, the whole life freedom lifestyle. And but because of that, it was like every business that my ex-husband and I came up with, 90% of it fell on my shoulders. So it was just like that when you get to that point where it's like my kids are graduated and they're gone, and there's like, well, who am I inside of all of this? Because it's like when you're in that stage of life, you're like, you don't have 5 minutes for yourself unless you are extremely intentional about it. Because, it's like the whole thing is like they talk about, you have I only had 3 kids. I know other people have a lot more. And it's like you want to spend individual time with each kid. You want to spend time with your husband. Where the hell are you going to find another 5 minutes to spend with just yourself? And so it's like you come out of that. And I think a lot of women struggle with that. Who am I when I'm not homeschooling, when I'm not raising my kids, when I'm not picking up? I used to think I'd have a clean house if my kids were in school. That's such a lie. This was like I told myself. And I was like, but you're not picking up after all the kids anymore. And it's just like you lose who you really thought you were because you didn't really know who you were. You knew who you were to everybody else.
And I hear that a lot, and I get it. You can't just not give to your kids and be there for your kids and your business. But what I would challenge anyone to do listening to
Mm-hmm.
this is, I know it's hard, but be intentional. Can you
Yeah.
take 15 minutes? I
And
have
yeah,
I have
it's
a good
becoming that awareness of it too.
yeah.
And I think just raising that awareness of it, because you're so inundated with everything, you forget. And so it's good. It's become it's like, and I think for everything in life, the awareness helps you to make a better choice.
Yeah, and the sad reality is that most of us don't get to that point of being aware until it's too late and we've burnt out.
Hmm.
But what I would say is, and the example I want to give you is I have a good friend who told me about what she did when she was going through a nasty divorce and burnt out and had never done anything for herself and her kids were younger. She started by literally sitting her kids down and putting them in front of the TV and saying, you know what? Mommy just needs to go into the room for 15 minutes.
Mm.
So, what I would say is, can you take 15 minutes from your kids, from your life, from the business, from the job? We all have 15 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely think you can. It's just you have to be aware of it and
Yeah.
intentional about it. And
Yeah.
then it's like, and I think sometimes we do it for a little while and then we forget the importance of it. And so we let
Yeah.
it slide. And it's just, and I think sometimes for women, it's like, that's why I think it's so crucial that women do meet together.
Yeah.
And because they talk about these things and bringing that intention back at forefront.
Yeah. And I think it's also about making it easier on yourself, right? So can you, for example, if you have a busy calendar, can you schedule sacred solo time in your calendar?
Mm.
High
I
achieving.
love how you call it sacred solo time. Like I think every woman that's listening to this, and if the men are listening to, I'm cool with that also. But you need that sacred solo time. Like it is
Right.
sacred. You are a female, like you are the goddess, you are the pleasure,
Yeah.
you are the
Yeah.
center. And if your spouse or somebody in your family cannot see that you need 15 minutes, then be an advocate for yourself. But
Mm.
that I think is got to be the biggest shift in the conversations that we're having with our partners is the asking and saying, hey, I need 15 minutes or 30 minutes. You are going to take care of everything for 15 minutes because like they need the experience of that. And you need that sacred. I love sacred solo time. I'm in this.
That's a great
I'm
phrase. I like that.
reallocating that over here.
I
Sacred
like
solo
it.
time.
I'll let you have it.
I
So
know.
schedule sacred solo time, right? And like maybe it's 5 minutes. Maybe it's you're moving from one meeting to the next and you need to take 5 minutes. If you need to schedule it in your calendar, sacred solo time, do that. And then I think it's also about this goes back to the awareness, right? Is I made a list of the things that energized me and I made a list of the things that drained me. Do
Mm.
a conscious audit,
Yep.
an energy audit. And once you become aware, it's really hard to become unaware, right? And so make a list of those things. And the more that you do it and you keep it top of mind, you might get out of that habit of scheduling the solo time in your calendar. But I'm hoping what that's going to do is make you go, oh, when you do something and you feel great and then you don't do it for a while and you're like, you go back to it and you think, oh man, why do I not do this more often? Because it feels so good. That's where you need to get to is where you're like, oh, you know what? That my 15-minute solo times are so important. I feel so much better. I'm going to keep doing that. And it's a commitment to yourself, really.
Hmm.
And I think if we make that commitment so easily to everything else, what I'm asking you to do is to make that commitment to yourself the most important thing. It doesn't mean you're not a good mom. It doesn't mean you're not a good wife. It just means that when you nurture yourself and you nourish yourself, you can give more to the people in your life.
So I'm going to bring this back to this the pussy word because I'm going to say that here. So I think a lot of that when you talk about sacred, solo time, I think is also spending time with your pussy. I am honestly going to call that out to all the women on here. You're probably all like shocked and
Just
amazed.
couldn't wait to say that.
I couldn't wait to say that because I think I'm not going to skid around a conversation that I think is super important. And especially with what you've been doing, Nisha, in your own journey around the pussy, the yoni, like that, those two are interchangeable in case anybody's asking. But the pussy is such an integral part of being a female. And yet we feel like it's this icky word we can't say or I've offended you by calling it a pussy. Like,
Yeah. Then bye. And I spent 15 minutes before we started this conversation. I was on the floor with my legs spread out, breathing, right? And doing some pussy work. Because when I connect to that energy, I just feel better. It's like I put gas in my tank.
yeah.
And so a lot of women don't know what that is. And it's taken me a long time to figure out what that is. But it's really connecting to your energy center and being in the being. I don't know if that makes any sense, but we're so up in our masculine. It's masculine, feminine energy, right? We're so up in our heads. And our masculine is about the doing and the analyzing and the lists. And we need that. But there's a balance, right? We need to move and live from our feminine and use our masculine to take inspired action. But high achieving women, we're just all about doing it up here.
Yeah, well, that's what we've been taught. We've been taught all because the male business role model that we've been following is all analytical. They're linear thinking men that have said, "Hey, this is how we do business in the business world." And yet, when we come in as women, we're sitting there going, "This is stupid." Like I've said that more times than I can count. Like I'll walk into a business and be like, "This is just asinine stupid." Like I have no idea how you guys are still in business doing it this way. Like, because
I don't either.
it doesn't make any sense. I'm like, how are you like you've you're either leaving money on the table, you're not even caring about people. I'm like, stop making this a numbers game. Like, and
Yep.
I'm like, you're just wagging, to be honest, you're just wagging your dick around right now. So, and we're having a makeup
Basically.
contest. So let's talk about being female and
Yeah.
getting back into that again. So I think there is the need and the desire, even in the business culture the way it is, for that more feminine approach. It's desperate in a lot of ways for that. The men need it to balance them out. Otherwise, it's just a raging war all the time with no sense of how to even connect with humanity around them.
Totally. I mean, that's where we've seen a lot of the burnout happen, right? Is we live in a patriarchy. Even my dog is all excited about.
Yeah, right.
We live in a patriarchy, and so we're so used to doing things the way, that men tell us we need to do it, right? Our day is organized in a certain way, and that's where we get our successes from.
That's where we believe that's where our success comes from because that is the only way that they've measured it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we need to drop into our bodies more.
Yeah.
And that might be hard for some women if you're like, how am I supposed to drop into my body? I'm not really connecting with my body. But I think it's about just start to pay attention to your body. If you don't know what that means, how's your body feeling? Are there parts in your body that are hurting? Take a moment, take your 15 minutes of sacred solo time and sit there with yourself and really just drop in your body and think, how am I feeling right now? What do I need right now? Do I really need to rush off to go do that other thing that that person asked me to do? If your inner intuition is saying, no, I need 15 minutes, or maybe I need to make a cup of tea or whatever, maybe I need to, go shopping or whatever it is, follow that voice and find a way to do the things you need to do. But I've found my intuition, the more I've done the pussy work, is that voice inside me that says, no, maybe today we'll just walk our dog to the cafe and get a coffee instead of the normal morning routine. And then something really amazing will happen to me when I'm walking to that cafe.
Yeah.
But it's that voice. So I would say for women that are like, don't know what that means, it's really about connecting to your body and that inner intuition and that voice that you've ignored for so long. Once you start to do that, and I find that's the journey of self-love. It's listening to ourselves and listening to our voice and our needs. And we spend so much time worrying about everyone else's needs that we ignore that voice and that intuition. And we're thinking from up here. And then that's just where the burnout happens because it becomes our default.
So let's talk about this 100-day journaling challenge that you're coming up with. So I know we mentioned earlier in this episode, you said, I love journaling. We didn't dive really deep into that one, but I do know the more and more I talk with high achieving women, the one thing that keeps coming up over and over again is a solo self time, right? Sacred solo time and journaling, writing things down. I hear that all the time for women now. And so let's dive into what is this? And I know you're going to let everyone know here how to get into that also, because this is a big thing. And I really think when we look at what it means to be a woman, spending that time writing your thoughts down, getting out of your head, this is an important conversation to be having.
Yeah. So journaling for me has been a savior. And I talked about dating yourself as having a conversation with yourself first and foremost, right? Wherever you're sitting, whether you're in a restaurant or you shoot your family out for the night, the best way to do that is to pick up a pen and a notebook and just start to have a conversation with yourself. Maybe you don't want a book, maybe you have an app on your phone, maybe you want to record a voice note, like whatever your way of doing it is, but have that conversation. And when you start to do that, and like I said, you start to hone in on simple questions. I don't like to make it complicated. I start with, how am I feeling right now? And it's just whatever comes up. And then, how was my day yesterday? How was my night? How was my week? Like reflecting on something. it's kind of whatever's in your head. Like,
Yep.
oh, I just had a fight with my partner. Oh, he really pissed me off. Okay, well, write about it. What pissed you off about that, what that person did? And then the third thing I'd say is I do an appreciation rant. So I've started these appreciation rants. I'm all about gratitude. It's kind of the same thing. But I go on a rant where I just appreciate the heck and the shit out of whatever is in my head at that moment. Like, I appreciate this pen. I appreciate my house. I appreciate my sweat. I appreciate the coffee. Like, when you get into that habit of looking around you and thinking about the things that you're grateful for and that you appreciate, your energy goes up.
Yep.
And then you spend more time looking for those things. So that's a part of it. So the journaling challenge is my desire to help women start that as a practice. You don't have to do it every day, but it's a great habit to do every day, even if it's 5 minutes. Do you have 5 minutes to say, how am I feeling? What am I grateful for? Like 5 minutes, right? Um, and so it's really about deepening that relationship you have with yourself, honoring your emotions, connecting with who you are, building self-trust, and being comfortable with being uncomfortable, because the more you start to have that conversation, the more you're going to start to realize, oh, every time I hang out with Jenny, I don't feel great. Like, you start to see patterns in your behavior, in your relationships,
Yep.
and it's going to make you confront things that might not happen fully in 100 days, but chances are there are things happening in your life that maybe you're not facing. And so I take women through, this process where they just get used to that habit of like having that conversation. Maybe one day it's 5 minutes, maybe another day it's 10 minutes, maybe it's a half an hour, maybe it's 40 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it is just have a conversation with who you are and where you're at and what you need, and reflect. And there's also processing. Maybe you had a fight with somebody, maybe your boss pissed you off, maybe something didn't go the way you wanted. And when you spin it around in here like spaghetti, it just clouds everything.
Oh yeah, you just carry it.
Just getting it out on paper is so important. And, we do it with the to-do lists.
Yep.
So why aren't you doing that with your emotions and your feelings? And so it's a 100-day challenge where women get daily journal prompts. There's a basic outline, and then you get prompts to sort of build that inquiry and build that relationship with yourself and build that trust. And there's questions that maybe you've never asked yourself.
I love that.
Prompts are really great that way.
They really are. Because
So-
sometimes I don't journal because I'm like, oh, what am I going to write about? I'm just like,
Get that. And I've heard that a lot. And I've had people say, well, I didn't know what to write. So, so I said, well, then write about what you had for breakfast. Right? Like, oh, I really like this pen right now. Like, it literally doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be this deep, soul searching
yes.
entry.
yes, it does.
But it doesn't.
That's what we're told journaling is, this deep, dark, secret journal of all of our inner secrets.
Thoughts and secrets.
Yeah, it's not though.
It doesn't need to be that complicated.
Yeah.
As you progress forward, and you're going to love it, like I love it, I know it, there might be days where you write like a book, because you start to become aware, and it becomes more in depth. But if you're just like, there are days when I'm like, yeah, I'm tired. Okay, bye. Like,
I love it.
No, but that's the joy of journaling. I mean, I think I've kept a journal in some form or fashion. I've been on and off since I was probably maybe 10 or 11. I got my first diary. And I think that's what a lot of women can, like, when they talk about journaling, I think they internally hear this word diary, which is something that we keep our thoughts in. So it's got to be locked up. It can't be used. So I think that interweaving of diary and journaling. I think we've got it confused in our minds somehow. But for me, it's just writing. Like I can look back at that child, and I still have those diaries, right? My journal. They're under. I can't find the keys to half of them, so I figured out how to get them off. But it's fine. But
Yeah,
like the stuff I wrote about.
who cares? Like,
Yeah.
grab one with a log. I don't have them. I don't reread my journals ever. It's just not my thing. And then
This
somebody
is years old though, Nisha. I mean, we're talking, I was probably 12. I was just curious what I was thinking.
You should go back, and I wasn't journaling when I was 12, but I think you should go back and read that and do a podcast on that. And
Oh my
That would be
God.
terrible. I mean, I had when I was in high school and I did go back and read it and I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, it's like all about the boys. It literally was.
yeah, yeah, and but that's okay. Like, so my point is because it's the performance, right? We feel like we
Right.
need to achieve the journal, right? Like,
Yeah.
I need to get the best entry ever. Nobody's gonna look at it. It's not for
No.
your partner, it's not for your kids. It's for you. And I've had, when I was like in a bad place for a long time, most of my entries were not great. I mean, I wouldn't want anybody to reread that. Now, most of my entries, I think I'm in a better place. I have my days, but like they're pretty good. Just, I'm tired. I had a great breakfast. Okay, bye. Like, sometimes
I also think about like when we die, are they in a box where it's like burned, do not read? Like,
Yeah, and
I also think about that. I'm like,
you gotta find a system. You got mine are in a box in my storage. I mean, I trust nobody's ever gonna read them. I'm never gonna throw them out. But I think you just gotta find time to have that conversation with yourself. And like I say, it's not complicated. I've got a basic sort of, here are the things I think you should do that I do. Like, I gave you 3 things that I do. And then there's just prompts, right? That just get you thinking. And you might have never asked yourself these questions. And you may not want to write anything, but I'm pretty sure it's going to get you to think about, you know, what do I like to do with if I had a day off, what would I do with myself?
mm.
I had a friend who literally couldn't answer that question. I said, girl, you need to write that down. You need to write that shit down and put that on your bucket list and make that happen like soon.
Yes.
So
I agree.
don't make it complicated, and it's for you.
So,
But I do believe the more you do it, the more you will get out of it.
Yeah.
got it. So for those that are catching this podcast episode maybe later down the road, can they join at any time?
Right now, we start May 15th. Right now it's not a join anytime. It goes from May 15th for 100 days.
Okay.
Down the line, I likely will have something that women can probably do on their own,
Okay.
kind of a self-serve.
Can you give us a 3-day lead in? Because when this podcast goes live next Thursday, it is the 17th. So can you give us like a couple days for our viewers to be able to
She
join
said
in?
May 15th.
Oh, May 15th.
This will go live April.
Oh, okay.
So
good.
they'll have
Put
a
your
month.
hand down. Okay, we're good.
Got time.
I was way ahead of myself. I was like months ahead. I apologize.
Yeah.
What happens?
That's okay. No, they've got time, and they'll get time with me as well every week. So it's more than just learn how to journal.
Okay. They get you too.
They get me too, because I do think that when you start having a conversation with yourself, especially if you're not used to it, and this is all about self-discovery. And the goal is to cultivate a life you love so you can have a better relationship with yourself. I don't know what's going on with my phone today, ladies.
It's fine. I have got no problems whatsoever.
He's participating in the podcast.
Yes.
He has something to say.
There's somebody in the hallway, and when there's somebody in the hallway, she just doesn't let up. So thank you for But see, she's even like, this is the best journaling challenge ever.
Yes,
I think
right.
it really about getting to know yourself, right? And
Okay.
that's where the habit comes in, and it's an intentional commitment.
Okay.
It's sacred solo time. And they get time with me for what comes up, right? Like,
Are you naming the program Sacred Soul Time, the 100-day challenge?
you know, I
Because that's what I'm
that's
hearing.
not what I was thinking about, but you never know, I might just do that. I like sacred solo time.
It keeps coming up for you and you light up every time you say it. So I feel like that's the universe saying, hey, and I'm just
It's-
gonna just bounce that back at you
Uh,
and saying, it sounds like it's
I
Sacred
could
Soul
give you,
Time.
maybe I'll do it and I'll give you royalties for
No,
thinking
I don't
about
need the royalties. You already said it 1,000 times.
You
I'm
did.
gonna borrow it over here, and then I'm just
uh,
gonna make. I heard this from Nisha. She's got this great thing called Secret Soul Time. You're gonna want to get in, start journaling with her, start spending that time with yourself, start uncovering who you are, your
yeah,
divine feminine in your world. So yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Excellent.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap up this podcast because this has been a fantastic episode. Thank you, Nisha, for joining us in this incredible conversation around self-love and dating yourself as a high-achieving woman. I think this was a much-needed conversation, and for all of our listeners across all of our platforms, thank you for joining us. And Nisha, we're going to look forward to possibly having you back again and seeing you on the next episode after 100 days. I'm curious to see where you're at.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. I always love chatting with you. It's been great. And I look forward to coming back.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you for listening or watching this episode of Did She Really Say That? If you enjoyed this episode, press that subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating.
And to learn more about the Create Her Business Rewired, we're pioneering the female business model for genuine success and harmony. This is for self, family, wealth, and philanthropy, because we know you're not just building a bigger business, you're building a sustainable, self-aligned impact. Details will be down below in the description to learn more about Create Her Business Rewired.